Hi there, welcome to Isle Fly Tarot. I'm doing a tarot card reading for Capricorn energy. Okay, we have the Queen of Pentacles, the Five of Cups, the Temperance card, and the Eight of Pentacles. And the reason is because of the Seven of Pentacles. The difference between the 1 and the 8 is the 7. And so these are all feminine figures, so the feminine figures can talk about how people think and feel when, assuming a masculine card comes out. That can represent male or female, but it can represent people are taking action in the world and how they're presenting themselves in the world. Because that's in our more worldly nature, represented by the masculine, and taking action in the world, which is considered masculine. And the feminine figures talk about how we think and feel. So everybody could want to move forward or invest in something moving forward. Everybody's being careful in the Seven of Pentacles about what they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into, right? High vibe Capricorn, I view it as represented by the King of Pentacles, that they've learned enough lessons in life that they want to not be more tempted by their more worldly nature, prideful nature, immature nature. Here we have the Five of Cups, not being working through regrets of the past so that regrets of the past don't keep manipulating us, right? Well, this relationship didn't work out and that relationship didn't work out. Yeah, and that can keep us back here stuck, not putting in work and effort to move things forward. So we need to work through those regrets of the past. And then in the Temperance card, which can be about higher learning and education, we need to kind of wrap our brain around this game of life. Just because some friendships, relationships, jobs didn't work out doesn't mean other ones aren't going to work out. You know, we need to see the truth, and that's what the Queen of Pentacles is holding. And I want to invest, and High Vibe Virgo of the Eight of Pentacles can be about the truth. I need to balance out my own emotions to get clear about my truth and accept the truth that everybody else has their own truth, you know? And if I know there's people in my life who haven't worked through regrets of the past, are more shadowy in some way, well, whatever that could be, stubborn, bossy, controlling, immature, I've already done that. I don't want to do that again. I want to move forward. In the Eight of Pentacles generally talks about moving forward. I don't want to keep repeating an old pattern. So who are the other people that I think have learned some of the same lessons I've learned, have worked through some of their regrets of the past, and kind of wrap their brain around it so that those things don't keep manipulating them? Who is ready to move forward to let whatever things need to be let go in the past be let go in the past, to see the truth of it? High Vibe the Pentacles about offering truth and love to things. I'm going to offer truth and love. Everybody is where they're at. Some people I am in friendship and relationship with, and they're going to be moving forward with me. Some people won't. And I probably offered truth and love to them, and they're not ready to move forward. You know, they need time. You know, the Pentacles can be all these lessons that we've learned in life. And part of it is coming to peace with some issues that have happened in our past. And some people aren't ready to move forward yet. So we wish them peace. And we do that with ourselves. You know, we have dreams that we're trying to manifest, things we're trying to manifest. We need people to work with people who are kind of on the same page as us at the same time. And the Temperance card here can talk about being patient. We can have all sorts of people in our life, people in our family, people in work, people in our neighborhood, people in our community that we would like to get along with better. But if we can only do so much, we can offer truth and love and encouragement to people, but we can't make them work through their defensiveness, their fears, their insecurity, or their past pain and heartbreak, or their defensiveness, or their stubbornness, or whatever else they might make their life about to make themselves feel better, or are in relationships with other people and don't want to be in relationships with us. I just have to accept the truth of all of it. you know? And that's like getting out of your ego about it. I accept that everybody is where they're at. I know where I'm at. And the people who are more on the same page as me would probably be working with me, and I would probably flow better with them. And the people who don't, I don't. So it is what it is. And if there's people in my life who, maybe at one time we had been working together, we could have done up to the Seven of Pentacles. But the Seven of Pentacles is Taurus energy, which is about a philosophy of life we have. And then Virgo's about transitioning out of that, kind of looking at life differently and moving forward in life a little differently. And sometimes when we're ready to move forward in life a little differently, other people aren't. But we could have been in jobs, friendships, and relationships with people for quite a long time. But now the way some people are ready to move forward, in their truth, isn't other people's truth yet. It may be later, but maybe not right now. So I was kind of going through the grieving process of letting some things that we maybe had invested in that won't be moving forward, to offer truth and love to it, to accept it is where it is. And then, the Temperance card being a major arcana card, like a universe card. Be patient, maintain balance within yourself. And high vibe energy is being a good leader in the world. And so we might know people that are dealing with issues they have. They might in turn have people who aren't working with them cooperatively, are closing out a chapter with people in their life, different friends, family, relationships, and they could not be ready to move forward right now. And we can relate if, that it's difficult and it's challenging. So you stay in the energy of peace and love and you keep moving forward. Virgo's about putting one foot in front of the other, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Slow, steady progress. And, kind of leading by example. What else? We have the Five of Pentacles. And the reason that came out is because of the Fool card. So we end this story here with the 8 of Pentacles, and then we go to the 5 of Pentacles. And that's letting go of the 3 of Pentacles, which could be a foundation, it could be a friendship, a relationship, a workplace, or just previously a way of living life and viewing life, or even how we felt about ourselves or something. Something changed. Someone saw the truth of something about a way they were living their life or thinking and feeling about themselves. It can be so many different things, but they saw the truth about something and they incorporated that truth into how they're going to moving forward. And there's some ways of acting or behaving or feeling or viewing life that they're not the same person anymore. They have grown or healed or matured themselves in some way. And so then it's detaching from that old foundation that we used to operate from to go on this new journey. And it's the exact same thing we did going from age 18 to age 21 to age 25. We kind of put away that way. That way was great at one point in time, but it's time to move forward. It's time to keep taking steps forward and helping us get more clear about what our truth is and what our truth isn't, and listening to our intuition to guide us that it's time for me to move forward and to leave some of these ways of thinking or feeling or behaving or acting or whatever. It's time to move forward. I offer people truth and love to move forward with me in that way. But if that's not where they're at, I accept the truth of it. And then the Five of Pentacles can be that, you might have to, and Virgo energy can be about taking time alone to do this inner work within yourself. Just even to reconcile yourself that you're leaving something behind in a way of living life or viewing life, and you've detached from that old foundation and you're moving forward differently now and going on this new journey. And you might go through a period of kind of feeling left out in the cold, because if we could have different people that we aligned with, that we kind of were hanging out with or in relationship with. Some people could just be mourning the fact that someone isn't in their life anymore. Maybe a friend moved or a family member isn't in your life anymore. But having to move forward, and it cannot feel as abundant as it had. And sometimes there was things about something we maybe had been investing in that made us sad. And I don't want to keep feeling sad. And if I'm kind of trying to work together with people to work things out, but they don't seem to want to work together to work things out, I don't want to keep staying sad. So I need to offer truth and love to the situation so that I can keep moving forward. And I might feel a little bit left out in the cold, but I have to take action kind of in my truth. And that foundation was no longer, at one time could have been aligned with my truth, but it's no longer aligned with my truth, because over maybe a period of time, I'm not the same person when I entered that phase of life, right? So moving forward differently, going on a new journey. Okay, and then we have the Empress, the Eight of Wands, the Page of Pentacles, and the Page of Wands. And the reason is because of the Nine of Wands. So, and that's kind of interesting here. Generally, let's just check to be clear. Actually, that does look more like a feminine figure. Normally, I think of the Five of Pentacles as a masculine card, but, and of course, normally I would say the Fool in a lot of decks is a masculine kind of looking card, but this is a feminine card. So we're taking action though, kind of in the 3D world, in what we're investing our time, energy, and effort into, at least emotionally. Maybe being more inspired within ourselves, because the Fool card is fire sign energy. Over here we have Pentacles. Well, we do have fire and we have water, but the Fool card generally is associated with Aries energy, and that's cardinal sign energy, just like Capricorn and Cancer and Libra, where it's kind of an energy we tap into to move forward differently. And Temperance here in fire sign energy and Virgo are kind of mutable sign energies that we tap into as we're trying to transition out of something. And Taurus and Scorpio are fixed sign energies. So there was things that we invested in emotionally. It's hard to transition out of that. But with Sagittarius and Virgo, we tap into those aspects of ourselves to move forward. And then in our fire sign energy of Aries, we can move forward in life a little differently. And all of this could be investing time, energy, effort into doing this work within yourself emotionally. Then, now here we have a masculine figure, and here, well, generally the pages look kind of generic. You can't kind of tell if they're male or female, but these ones to me kind of look male, so could kind of be more about taking action, is the reason why I bring it up. The Empress is about Libra Taurus energy about doing this work within yourself to get more balance within yourself and feeling stable and grounded within yourself, so that it's about wanting to give birth to something new. And then we have the Eight of Wands, which is about moving forward and maybe communicating with people. If we did go through something, might not quite be ready to take action and communicate with people, until we kind of work through it ourselves. And, not everybody needs to know our business at every moment in time. So it can be taking this time just to work through it within ourselves emotionally. And the Nine of Wands and the Fool has one wand, so the difference in between there is that Eight of Wands, working towards giving birth emotionally, to be willing to all this process of closing out an old cycle so that you can move forward to have these new beginnings in the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Wands. So the Page of Pentacles could come out when you've closed out a cycle of the Ten of Pentacles. The Page of Wands can come out when you work through a cycle of the Ten of Wands. There's 10 in every suit. Working through the Nine of Wands can be moving forward, learning to stand up for yourself, learning to get clear about what your dreams are, feeling more stable and grounded within yourself, feeling more inspired, and learning how to be a loving, nurturing person to yourself so you get out of more codependent energy, and also realign with the pages can represent our more hopeful, believing nature. And something could have happened where, we could have been in relationships with people where they could have, we kind of got codependent on certain people in our life being loving, nurturing people in our life. Well, what if they quit being loving, nurturing people, or they're not in our life anymore? We have to learn to play that role within ourselves so that we feel like ready to go back out there again. And then you might communicate that to some other people in the world who you think might kind of be on the same truth as you in the Page of Pentacles and inspired to have move forward with you. If somebody was taking more time alone, wasn't really ready to put themselves out there in some way, or just reconnect with people in a way, then they could be ready to do that. And you might have different people in your life who, some of them could be more aligned with your more worldly nature. Others of them could be people that you like to hang out with that kind of inspire you to be more creative and inspired within yourself and listen more to your intuition. And, that can be fire sign energy. Love and believe in yourself. The Pentacle suit can be where people can be loving and encouraging and supportive. Maybe that's in a more practical way, and the fiery nature can be just more willing to be more creative and inspired within yourself. That there's more to work with than just these things of the world. And some people could realize that. Some people could realize that I did make my life more thinking I needed to work more with these things of the world. And I could have rejected previously and kind of left this aspect of myself kind of out in the cold because I didn't value that as much. And then I could have had people in my life who kind of represent that, but I could have not, stayed in friendship or relationship with those people because I could have thought that was less important, and we all go on these journeys in life, and we're kind of, we could be going on a journey maybe more emotionally, or more living more from our mind than our heart or whatever. And some people over here could have been going on a journey. It's kind of like we drive our life off into the ditch in these different directions. Kind of like, how far is too far? It's like, oh yeah, that's too far. But we almost had to go there in order to learn that's how far is too far. So that eventually, when we get to the Empress Emperor energy, we've kind of driven our life off into the ditch in these different ways. I let my heart run my life. I let my mind run my life. I let my immature, passionate nature kind of run my life. That went in the ditch, and it's kind of learning that all four are important. All these aspects in tarot, we have the four suits of the deck: the heart, the mind, the worldly nature, and the creative, passionate nature. But at different times in our life, we just could think other aspects are not as important. Like, this is the most important thing, or these two are the most important thing, or these three. But there can always be something that's kind of left out of the mix. And we go on that journey. And when we're on that journey, this could even represent like our future self of what the potential is, but we have to work through this phase of life and learn the lessons here. And sometimes while we're learning this lesson here, other people are moving on ahead of us. And then sometimes when we kind of do learn those lessons, we could feel like we're behind the eight ball, right? Like, oh damn, I I feel like I blew 5 or 15 years of my life, and everybody else is so much farther ahead on the game of life than me. But the thing is, everybody has to learn these lessons, and everybody kind of learns them at different times in their life. Um, and sometimes you could have experienced yours at a certain time of life. Other people might not experience and have to learn some of these life lessons till later, and we all haven't felt more stable and balanced and grounded and hopeful and believing within ourselves, and hadn't learned to stand up for ourselves and be more inspired to have that more hopeful, believing spirit. So at times we all turned back and didn't move forward in certain things. And again, some people could excel in certain areas, like, well, that seems like a damn breeze for them. And for someone else, it's really challenging if that's in the emotional area, the work and effort area, or applying education or job or something like that. We've all got kind of our areas that more that we focus on, and other people can focus on other ones. But everybody can go through their feeling of feeling like, I don't have enough, I don't measure up, other people seem more stable and grounded, whatever. And so we'll go repeat these patterns until and we'll stay kind of in our comfort zone until we kind of, why do I do that? And we kind of done it enough that I finally do think I deserve to get more justice in my life and more balance in my life, and to love myself and believe in myself. And that's when we could maybe go through and we move forward. And then when we move forward, we could end up meeting other people that kind of went through some similar experiences of their own, not just like ours. Theirs could have been different. But then when we kind of quit investing in a certain way of living life or viewing life, or vices to make us feel better or whatever, we might then do things differently, because in the Nine of Wands, we could have realized that those things, because the Nine of Wands can talk about the wounded warrior, that we kind of saw how some of those things wounded us, and out of learning to love ourselves and stand up for ourselves, that I'm going to distance myself from things, ways of, we have to distance ourselves from our own shadowy nature, like our own self-critical, belittling, berating. We can do that, we got free will. Or we can align with, I can't keep doing that and belittling, berating myself and feeling less than and rejected. Or I have the free will to stand up for myself and align with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature. I am my only client, and I am the manager of my life. So how about I choose to be inspired to love myself and offer myself love and compassion and forgiveness for being the fallible human being I am and the lessons I've had to learn. And how about I offer it to everybody else in my life so I can keep moving on and I can let that go. Take the lessons I was meant to learn, quit repeating old patterns, maintain balance within myself. And high vibe Empress can be that you did learn lessons in all four suits of the queens, and you're ready to be kind of an emperor in your own life. Because if we're an empress internally, we would be an emperor externally. And you are inspired to have these new beginnings, and part of this whole experience could have been to help you work through some of your regrets of the past that maybe made you feel less than, or grief or sadness that previously could have been a kind of a stumbling block for you, or going through a period of having less stability or security in your life, or whatever it could have been. You're ready to move forward in life differently. And you're looking for people in the world that have that more hopeful, believing spirit. Because some of the people maybe in your life weren't, you tried to offer people truth and love and to work with them in a just and fair way. And some of those people, they kind of repeated their old patterns because of issues within themselves that they maybe haven't dealt with. And it's like, I can wish everybody peace and love, and I can treat everybody like I like to be treated, but I'm kind of going to spend more of my time, energy, and effort to focus on people who I think are open to, you know, some of the people didn't really appreciate what, if I offered them truth and love and was just and fair with them. I'm going to go look for the people who are appreciative of that and value that and want to move forward with me in that kind of energy. And so having these new beginnings and standing up for yourself, and again, if you have some people in your life who kind of keep repeating some patterns over and over that aren't aligned with this energy of being more just and fair, acting with character and integrity, have good boundaries within themselves. It's like other people want to harness this energy all in a more shadowy way. Because in a world of duality, you have the free will to do this inner work to grow and mature yourself and work through your fears and insecurities and temper your more egoic nature. Or instead of being like a good mother, father, coach voice to yourself, you're kind of a bad mother, father, coach voice to yourself. You kind of indulge your more immature ways of being. And, some people think that's just and fair. It should be more about me. I indulge myself, and other people should indulge me. And if those other people don't indulge me, well, then they can go and find someone else. And it's like, and some people are just full of themselves, and some people think maybe because they have a certain status or image in the world or look like they have justice in the world, that there'll be other people who want to be in a relationship with them. And if there's someone who, in the Five of Cups, shadowy Scorpio, they're more emotionally shallow and superficial. In shadowy fire sign energy, they could be people who I just indulge myself in a relationship anyway for how it benefits me and what I get out of it, male or female. And, they really haven't emotionally grown and matured themselves, and they aren't inspired to more emotionally, authentically invest in relationships. It's just indulging themselves in it, and no skin off their nose really if that relationship doesn't work out, because they weren't really emotionally invested in it anyway. And Sometimes that's when you can see people's true colors. When you kind of stand up for truth and justice, which is harnessing high vibe Libra and Taurus, and acting with character and integrity and being inspired to be truthful and authentic and loving in the pages. And the other people are like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I'm going to keep doing this. Some people are looking for a mother figure in a relationship, male or female. I'm still immature. I still haven't learned to love myself. I don't want to learn to love myself. I'm just looking for someone to replace my mother in my life, someone who will indulge me. I get to keep being immature, and they love me like my mother did, which, if they had a mother who indulged them or not, they emotionally indulged themselves. And they think that's just and fair, and they're just looking for someone else who will. So they could, we all would be looking at, well, some people purposely look for people who are sad and might feel left out in the cold. Oh, you are perfect. I'm going to come try to get in a relationship with you. And I'm going to present myself as this loving, nurturing person. And a lot of people wear some false masks. And in a lot of ways, they can be very loving and nurturing. And that's why you get in a relationship with them. But as you move forward in it, you could find out they like people being more codependent on them. So they're codependent, but they also want other people codependent on them. So it's kind of like, you should be in a relationship with me, move forward with me, be my friend, date me, marry me. And I'll be like you should defer to me, like as if you're like my child. It's like, I don't want to be in a friendship with someone who treats me like their child. And I don't want to be in a romantic interest with someone who treats me like I'm their child. And some people like that relationship dynamic. And they never really want you to. High vibe energy is being more independent. And they really don't like people to become more independent. What? You have your own dreams and aspirations and unique talent, skills, and interests that you want to invest in and give birth to? Well, that would kind of be about you. And I kind of don't like that. I like it about me. You know, shadowy energy is tipped more in favor of being more about them. High vibe energy is respecting each other as their own individual. You are your own person. You are an adult. You are not a child. Um, you have your own free will. It's supposed to work together with people from love. And love is supposed to be just and fair. And it isn't supposed to be more about them. And it isn't supposed to always be kind of more tipped in their favor. And it isn't just about what they want to give birth to emotionally. It's also what you want to give birth to. But some people create the illusion they're willing to work with people cooperatively. But as you go, you kind of realize, yeah, but I want to do it this way. It's like, so sometimes people get in different jobs, friendships, or relationships, but they keep wanting to do things the way they've always done it. You know, like the people sometimes at work, where it's like, oh, well, we did it this way. It's like, oh, well, I can, if that's was your process, but that's not our process here. And this is how we do it here. Well, we always did it that way. It's like, can you grasp this? We're not doing that, you know? But also, some people are like, create the illusion, oh, yeah, I'm ready to move forward with you and have this new beginning. But then they're defensive to it because they really don't want to do it that way. They want to go back and do it this way. No, this is the way I did it. This is how my mom and dad did it. And this is how my family does it. And this is how my friends do it. It's like, I'm going to let you be in a relationship with them. And then you can all do that way. But I want to give birth to something new and create my own thing with people that I'm in relationship with. And that's like shadowy. That's how I viewed shadowy Taurus energy. I view the Queen of Pentacles, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Five of Pentacles as Taurus energy. People do not have to be a Taurus sun sign. Anybody in their Taurus energy could be people who are more inspired in their fire sign energy to keep following some template that worked for other people. So I don't want to be creative and inspired within myself to listen to my own intuitive, creative, inspired nature to give birth to my own life. No, we got to do it like this because that worked for them. So, what did you say? I mean, for some people, it could almost be as like, well, they did go bowling every Saturday, so I kind of think we should go bowling every Saturday. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? But it just depends on Taurus is fixed sign energy. So some people can be very rigid, like, no, we have to do this and you have to do that, and they're going to act like this, or I'm going to act like this, or they're going to say this, or I'm going to say that. Then you're supposed to say this. And it's just like, oh my gosh, again, high vibe energy is being more independent, going with the flow. And some people do not like that at all. And the fives talk about change, and some people do not like change at all. I'll create the illusion I'm willing to give birth to something new with you, but oh, by the way, I'm defensive and I really want to go do this. I don't want to change. And, that's when some of those relationships end. And there's been other people who are moving forward with you. And right now, you could be moving forward in something that really seems to, when we quit investing more of our time and energy and effort into things that aren't kind of more aligned with our truth, and we listen to our intuition instead of taking action out of fear or insecurity or pain or heartbreak and repeating some old patterns, we kind of get in the flow, which is kind of what the Eight of Wands maybe can talk about, and we start to have these new beginnings. Because we did have good boundaries. We all knew we could have repeated some poor past patterns, but then we were going to keep getting what we got. And we didn't want to keep repeating that pattern. So you had good boundaries within yourself. And even as you're moving forward, there could be some people who are sad, or people who could be attracted to you that would like to be in a relationship with you. But because you keep maintaining balance within yourself and you keep standing up for yourself, treating other people the way you like to be treated, but you're not kind of like driving your life off into the ditch. If you did that, there'd be a whole bunch of people maybe that would come running to be in a relationship with you. But they will only get in a relationship with you if you'll kind of dip back down into some more shadowy energy. Don't maintain balance within yourself. Indulge poor behavior in yourself and others. That works better for them. They don't like it when you maintain balance, because then for people to be in a relationship with you, they have to maintain balance. And some people can do it for a while, but if it's not really their truth, then they'll go to the wayside, because shadowy people can want to manipulate you, control you. They want you to indulge them in some poor behavior. And if you're not willing to do it, then they go away because they'll go find someone else who they think they can do that with. So as you keep, that is like a built-in self protection type thing. As long as I maintain my balance and keep being truthful and honest and authentic and loving and encouraging to people, yeah, it could draw a lot of people in. But when other people are like, oh, this isn't just like a show or a performance, which is more what shadowy energy is, like this is real, like I'd have to do that. Oh yeah, no. I'm leaving. It's like, bye, because I don't want you here anyway. Because if this isn't your truth and something worth defending, something you value, living your life like that, that's not your truth, then yeah, I don't want you here anyway. So what is coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Capricorn energy? Giving birth to something new emotionally, inspired, have freed yourself and worked through some past pain and heartbreak or loss or something, and you keep not giving up on your dreams. You keep believing in yourself. And I think as you do that, you probably have some people in your life, whether friends, family, work people, neighborhood people, that appreciate you and the energy that you bring, and having someone who isn't more immature or petty or jealous or envious or backstabbing or manipulative, and that is inspired to put in work and effort and treats other people the way you like to be treated. And as time goes by, more people that are more aligned with that truth will be inspired to be in friendship and relationship with you. Know that you're not kind of being two-faced and presenting yourself one way, but really being another way. You're really walking the talk. And just like you stand up and defend those people in your life, they stand up and defend you. That's kind of the Nine of Wands. But you're definitely standing up and protecting your more inspired, loving, hopeful, believing nature. Can I move forward with a lot of people and know a lot of people and communicate with a lot of people? Yeah, but not, they kind of stay in the friend zone. Not everyone am I going to have a more involved, authentic, or, relationship with, because I don't know them to that degree. And for someone to, I would have to get to know them to see what really kind of motivates and inspires them, what they think is just and fair. Try to get a sense of their character and integrity. Um, if they're getting in, wanting to be friends or in a relationship just because something else didn't work out, well, just go get in a relationship with someone else if that's the only reason you want to be in a relationship, or has healed from past pain and heartbreak or whatever. And if I feel like that is their truth, then those are people I'm willing to get to know more. But the pages, again, can just be just getting to know people more, but it's still more than the regular old people that I am willing to be a little more authentic and a little more personal maybe with you to get to know you more. What's coming up for them? They have the Star card, the Strength card, and the Queen of Wands card. And the reason is because of the Virgo Hermit. Well, because in the Virgo Hermit, you are willing to do this work within yourself and deal with the truth. Because there was something that wasn't working out the way you wanted. And you probably didn't think it was very inspiring or very loving or very just or very fair, or people weren't standing up for you. So you did the work within yourself to emotionally work through kind of maybe detaching from an old dream and tempering your ego about it, because you could have been in relationships with people who kind of harness that energy in a more shadowy way, shadowy Aquarius and Leo, where maybe they were hiding, they were two cards that could both be about being more about themselves. Like, again, they could like people to be in more codependent relationships, and it has to be more about them and kind of being controlling and manipulative. But other people, it could have been more about being in a relationship for the ego and the image and looking like a shining star. And that was more the driving factor for being in it. So that could be more about conforming to the world, making your life more about the world, getting in a relationship, staying in a relationship, more for those reasons, moving forward in it. And it's like, I want to be in a relationship with people who harness these energies in a high vibe way, that are more inspired and Virgo in high vibes about truth and love. And kind of maybe finding out that some other people kind of hid that they're kind of more about themselves or the ego or the image, and not really inspired to be more authentic, hide behind their ego nature, immature. And all of that helped you really, and it maybe forced you. That's what happens sometimes when things get tough. It makes us dig deep. Like, what is my truth? And if I've been around people who are hurtful or unkind or unjust, am I going to drive my life off into the ditch because of those kind of people? They're going to be those kind of people in the world all the time. And how about I just see the truth that they're not someone I can have my dream come into reality with, and I don't give up on my dreams. I just let go of them. And that's what you probably did with some people. And you weren't willing to hide the truth. And sometimes some people that you're in a relationship with, they want to be hurtful or unkind or unjust or whatever, and they want you to keep, because you're so wanting it to work out, that you'll hide the truth, that shadowy Virgo, and just balance out your emotions because you want it to move forward. And that's sometimes what shadowy people are counting on. I don't think you'll love yourself enough to stand up for yourself, to believe in yourself, that basically you'll let me get away with this shit. And you weren't willing to hide the truth. This is hurtful and unkind and unjust. And though I would like it to work out, and I could have fear in the Leo card of moving forward and leaving it behind, I can't do this. You know, in free will, there's always a price to be paid. And eventually it can get to be the price is too high to pay. I am not willing to sacrifice my truth and my dreams. You know, and over here we had a lot of pentacles, you know, and we can all be tempted in our more worldly nature to put up with things and jobs or friendships or relationships because we want friendship, we want community, we want relationship, we want stability, security, we want a job, you know, and everybody's kind of tolerance level is different. And some people can put up with a lot more shit than other people. And, you know, everybody would have to go through this process of working through their own fears and insecurities of standing up for themselves and going through a period of feeling left out in the cold and loving themselves and being loving and encouraging to themselves to go through a period of people kind of turning their back on you if you kind of won't conform to some behavior or ways people think they've justified as being just and fair as a way of acting in friendship, relationships, or workplaces. But you did it and you're moving forward. And I think there could be some people, you know, when we're in a relationship, we have the free will to communicate and work together with people in love, be just and fair, humble ourselves is what the pages can talk about. Get out of our more ego nature, trying to manipulate and control people. Everybody had that free will choice. And some people said, I could do that. But again, they just might be immature. They got some lessons learned. And some of those people could be sad, you know? And, you know, sometimes it's funny when you have dealt with some of these experiences in life and you kind of have kind of seen what was kind of hidden in the dark because you didn't look at life that way, such as by doing tarot. And you go out in the world and you could go start something new that you're moving forward with. And then some people there can act kind of in these shadowy ways. And most people, it's kind of like we don't want to see the truth. And so people act kind of snarky or a little difficult or whatever. And we kind of don't want to acknowledge it, just hope it'll change or go away. You know, the change card, just hoping if we keep going, things will change. But once you kind of realize this and kind of really getting down to this thing that everybody has free will of how they choose to act and react and interact with people, when some people did that, some people who've learned these lessons in life just, oh, thank you for showing me who you are. Yeah, I'm kind of going to keep my distance from you. And if I don't have to be more involved with you or work with you or, interact with you, I'm okay with that. And I'm going to focus more of my attention on the people who don't seem to indulge our more immature nature. Some of those people could be like, oh shit, usually it can take people like a good year or two before they finally give up on me and shit. I kind of get the feeling that person gave up on me like the first time I did it. And I was like, who has time for the bullshit? Grow up, you know? And, you know, when people see people have less tolerance for bullshit, and it doesn't mean you have to say anything, you still act the way you act, treat people the way you like to be treated, but you're not going to indulge them in it or pursue more interaction with them than absolutely necessary. And they probably feel that right away, again, kind of energetically. And, I guess the more it's kind of like it kind of makes me think of swatting a dog on the nose, the more people, some people never learn though. They keep having more high vibe people leave their life and they still keep repeating these same behaviors. They keep shadowy energy as not wanting to see the truth, not wanting to see where you might benefit from healing or growing or maturing yourself, and detaching from some more immature or stubborn or deal with some past pain and heartbreak, so you're not thinking everybody acts like some other people in your life, you know, and start dealing with people more on how they are dealing with you. Anyway, let's go to what are some people who harness some more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy? What's coming up for them that they might not see coming? Oh, and as some of you high vibe people are moving forward, there's always other people in the world who have gone through similar situations and are going through similar situations. And the Hermit could be where people could be loving and encouraging people in an environment that you're in, but they're watching to see how different people behave and how people act in a way. And some of those people who see that they know you could repeat certain patterns, they could see you kind of interacting with other people and how you handle things versus how you don't handle things. And if they're people that are more balanced and understand that everybody has their own issues, and regardless, even if you were in a group at work, say of 50 45-year olds, men and women, some of them could have the emotional maturity level of like a 15 or an 18-year-old or a 21 or a 25, somewhere on the spectrum. And it's acknowledging that, and we've all been there at different stages in our life, right? That knowing that treating other people the way you like to be treated, being a just, fair, loving, encouraging person, treating people that way is the best choice. And knowing that sometimes you're dealing with people who are much more codependent, follow the leader, and sometimes in these different groups of people that we get into, sometimes there's a bad leader and everybody's kind of following that person, right? And that person can really cause a negative influence in an organization, a family, a community, and a workplace, right? And sometimes the more high vibrational people were felt wounded because they were more outnumbered, you know? And you can be loving and encouraging people, but as long as it seems more people are shadowy, kinda, or immature, uh, that is kind of the majority rules thing. And they're kind of could be looking, whoever, in whatever social situation, the high vibe people are also looking for more high vibe people to hang out with. And if it is an organization or a workplace, say, or even a family dynamic, looking for more people who are more on the same page as them, that they can more align with and really kind of more work with to accomplish the goals and the dreams that people have. And, if they had more people that were more aligned in the high vibe, some of the more shadowy people would eventually probably leave on their own because they're no longer kind of the majority rules or whatever. That's different. Anyway, what's coming up for people who harness some more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy? But I hate for people to feel bad, so, we're fallible human beings. We all got our issues. Offer yourself love and compassion, forgiveness. We can all grow and heal and mature ourselves. What's coming up for the shadowy people they might not see coming? The Three of Wands. Why? Because of the Queen of Swords and the Ace of Swords. Well, I think shadowy people can be defensive to the truth, right? Both the Queen of Swords and the Three of Wands in Aquarius and Aries energy can talk about, I have this dream, and I have this idea of how I want this dream to play out, my life to look like, the people I hang out with, all that kind of stuff. So they have this dream, but Aries is about the self. And anybody can harness a shadowy Aries, a shadowy Aquarius energy. They're kind of a little bit more about maybe themselves. Or definitely maybe more motivated by the world, because again, Aquarius energy is represented by the star. I want to look like a shining star in the world. I want it to be more about me. I want people focused on me. I want people to indulge me. I want people to be in a relationship with me and be my friend and invest in me. And some of them, shadowy Empress, that some people could harness, because they're going to move forward in this energy in a more shadowy way, is they do kind of feel they should be the indulged, privileged person to some degree in whatever situation they're in. If it's work, it could be because of how long they've been there or their education or something. If it's just out in the world, it could be money, status, image. They could be attractive, charming, have social clout, whatever they got. And they kind of don't want to see the truth, that they could use these things about them, but also their emotional nature, their sexual nature, their charm, their words, their money, their social clout. They could use all those things more manipulatively to get people to get in relationship with them. And if they look like someone, like their dreams are going to come into reality, they have these things that, us people in the world would be like, wow, those people look like their dream is going to come into reality. Yeah, there's going to be people who are going to be drawn and attracted to them. Just like, wow, that person seems stable and mature and loving and nurturing. People are going to go be drawn and attracted to getting in relationships with those people too, to see how things move forward. And with all those different types of people, things do move forward. It's just with the shadowy people, they find out that they have this way of interacting, and that's kind of how they want to keep interacting. And that's what motivates and inspires them, that they want to keep doing it that way. Shadowy energy doesn't really give birth to anything new. It looks new. They get new jobs, new friendships, new relationships, but they didn't heal and grow and mature themselves. They're the same them that they were in the last job or relationship. So they're still bringing their way of being to the next relationship. They might have learned how to hide some of their more shadowy traits and characteristics from people, but they're still there, just buried beneath the surface. So people, this is a masculine card, so male or female, they present themselves as more maybe motivated and inspired by truth and love, but they're actually defensive to that truth. And, you can't hide the truth forever. When other people are being more just and fair and authentic and loving, and they're trying to move it forward in that energy, eventually it's like, what's going on here? I'm trying to move this forward, and I thought we had the same dream. And the other person's like, oh, yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, I want to go. I want to do that too. But it keeps not happening. Eventually the other people in their life feel, the Queen of Swords can talk about feeling betrayed. I don't think you were going to bring this dream into reality. I don't really think that's what drives and motivates you. I don't think you're really motivated and inspired by love. I think you're more about being in it, but indulging in it. But I don't think. I think you're defensive to really bringing the dream into reality, being motivated and inspired by truth and love. So the more high vibrational people in their life are going to turn their back to them and do this work within themselves to go invest in people who are more on the same page as them. And because the more worldly, shadowy people never do that work within themselves, they have things and people in their life that manipulate them. Their ego, their fear, their defensiveness, friends or family, whoever. But if there's not, I would find it hard to believe that there's not some people in their life that are happy they kind of live their life like that, because then they hang out with them, or they're in friendship or relationship with them. And it ends up, the people that they end up being more surrounded by are more people like them and more things that manipulate them. And they have the opportunity to free themselves from these things that manipulate them. But you have to be willing to do some of this inner work and deal with the truth. Or have some hope and faith and belief in yourself. Look at life from a higher perspective. Maybe quit. Aquarius is air sign energy, represented by the 5, the 6, and the 7 of Swords. Instead of getting all up in your head, you know, try to keep things in perspective a little bit. Temper your fears or your insecurities or your defensive nature or your egoic nature. And do try to gain some insight about why you do what you do. And if you have made some immature actions or decisions, why? Did that seem just and fair? Did you kind of indulge yourself? Did you need to temper your ego? Did you go look for the easy fix to feel better? You have to be motivated and inspired within yourself to want to change. And some people, we all have some issues, right? Like we all might want to eat healthier or exercise more or lose some weight, for example. And, we'd like to kind of change, but, it kind of does take, with the Virgo energy of the 8 of Pentacles, it takes a steady action, and we do have to sacrifice some things, and we have to quit indulging ourselves in some things or indulging people or something. And it takes kind of a commitment out of love for yourself to change, to move forward differently, to not give in to indulging yourself in some way. And everybody's things that they could indulge in that they have a hard time, like I mentioned, maybe some people should quit smoking or drinking or should start exercising or whatever. Other people's might be worse. They might definitely take some more hurtful action, prideful action, lack some self-awareness and self-insight. But basically it's kind of the same. They'd have to learn to temper that. And we have to see the truth of it. Some people really don't want to temper it. And that's why they're not. And so, don't live in denial of the truth. If some people were more motivated and inspired to act with more character and integrity or temper their ego, they would. Can some of those people be upset and sad and feel betrayed that things didn't work out to, yeah. But they got some lessons to learn that some other people have already learned in some of those different areas of whatever they might be. And, it can take years and decades to learn some of those lessons. And so the other people wish them peace, but that wasn't moving anywhere fast. And it may never move. So the other people have a dream. And apparently our dreams are different. So I'm going to go invest in mine, and you can go invest in yours and repeat an old pattern. And sometimes some people who are shadowy, like they again try to create this illusion that they're more stable, grounded, or mature, or whatever than they really are. And of course, they thought that was a good idea, or they wouldn't have done it. And so they thought it would work. And plus, all those things manipulate them. And of course, if they think they're so smart and all those things manipulate them, well, of course, you're like a fool. You're nowhere close to them in their mind, in their intellect or their status or their image or whatever, right? You're just a foolish person who loves. Don't you know loving people get manipulated, which is maybe why they quit. They gave up on their dreams a long time ago because they had people who manipulated them or were unjust or unfair, and they didn't keep believing in themselves and believing in their dreams and just see that those people were unjust and unfair and manipulative. No. Instead, they kept aligning with those people because that's what's important. And they kind of gave up on their dreams. So, of course, a bumpkinhead like you would certainly give up your dreams and standing up for yourself and loving and believing in yourself because they did. That's another thing that makes them mad. You did what they're not willing to do. And also that you saw through the illusion of who they tried to present themselves as being. And you stood up for yourself. But they have people and things, their ego, their fear, whatever, that is in their head, and they never stand up to it, and it keeps running their life. And it's going to keep running their life until they're willing to work through those things that manipulate them and deal with the truth of it, and they may never do it. And so then they repeat a pattern. They get in a relationship that by worldly standards could be look good for whatever it is they're looking for. And they could move forward in it and defend it. And it looks like their dreams are going to come into reality. But the reason they could stay in it is because they're both defensive to the truth. And again, if you're defensive to being more just and fair, you're probably going to get in relationships with people who are either more codependent on you and willing to indulge you not being just and fair. And they don't really care if those people feel betrayed because it's really just about them anyway. And if it's good for their status, ego, or image, they don't give a damn. Well, I don't think that's anything to be proud of. And I think they could have other people who see that they're kind of bossy or controlling or egotistical or kind of more about themselves. And that can be, it's kind of like their true character kind of comes out. And they don't like that other people maybe don't want to be in friendship or relationship with them anymore because they're seeing the truth of who they are, or that they're more manipulative, or it's got to be their way or the highway. And of course, when people were growing up with people, they never, foresaw that coming, probably. But then as time goes by, again, people had the opportunity to kind of keep growing and maturing themselves, or you kind of go so far, and then you could start letting the ball roll backwards, and it can really drag you down to the bottom. And sometimes some people are going to have to hit rock bottom to realize that, shit, I lost all perspective. And that's what our shadowy nature does. whatever it is we look to that we think is going to be the answer because we so badly want it to be the answer, it clouds our judgment and we can make it more and more important in our life. And some people, it could be have a fear of having maybe stability and security in their life, or have a fear of believing people could love them, or a fear of being in more just and fair relationships because they're not used to that. And so they might repeat poor patterns, but they could be really caught up in the world with all the pentacles over here, less inspired and having more hope and faith in listening to their more loving, creative, inspired nature, because their high vibe nature would kind of be, it all kind of happens in the subconscious, but their high vibe nature, they have their high vibe nature, which is like your intuition that tells them, like, oh my gosh, like, oh shit, there they go again. And their high vibe nature is like, you shouldn't do that. That's not a good idea. You should do this. Have some more hope and faith and believe. You're repeating an old pattern. This isn't going to work out well. But they're like, no, I'm sure this will work out. And so then they go do it again. It's like their intuition is trying to tell them, and people in their life try to tell them the truth, but they don't want to see that truth because they really want this to work out the way they want it to work out, and it keeps not working out. They'd have to look at, why do I so badly want that to work out? Is it a specific person? Well, I don't need it to be a specific person. I need it to be people, just like you can go through your life and, if you had a best friend at fifth grade, and then you had a best friend at eighth grade, and then you had a best friend maybe at 10th grade, it's hard when you maybe don't have more of a best friend, but eventually you meet some other people and you really can, it's different. And initially it can feel different, but you end up liking and appreciating those people. And then, that can be more of the cherished friendship, and not like you didn't still have love for, but, times change and you're not around those people. And then that kind of connection is lost because for some reason you're maybe not around them as much. And now you're around someone else. But some people could have that kind of fear where I'm so afraid of stepping out of my comfort zone and taking that more hopeful, believing, creative, inspired action in my life, that they kind of look to find people maybe who seem to have the certain way of living life or viewing life, but it could be more out of their fear of change. But again, you're kind of limiting yourself, and no matter when you're trying to find people to connect with, to be more friends with, that you enjoy their company more than the regular old person, um, it's really hard to find the right mix. But some people keep going back to people who like tell them, oh no, you should invest in me, I love you, whether that's friend or family or romantic. I am the one you should listen to. But that's like listening also to their less loving nature within themselves. So it's kind of like people in our life can kind of represent an aspect within ourselves, just like in human form, though, you know? And sometimes people did foolish things and they go back to some people and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And those people are like, they're there, you know? And they try to move forward again, hoping they'll do better, but then they keep repeating certain patterns. Or other people in their life keep saying, you shouldn't trust those people, you shouldn't believe those people, you shouldn't be more independent, you shouldn't love and believe in yourself, you should align with me, and I have your best interest. But some of those people don't have their best interest. But we can't make other people see the truth. When we're ready to deal with the truth, we'll deal with the truth. And some people will never want to see the truth because that could be too maybe destabilizing for them to see the truth about some people in their life. You know, I guess the more, or the truth about themselves, you know, it could really destabilize them, you know. So we wish people peace and we move on. So there you go, Capricorn. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.